not going to panic when it doesn't light. I'm just going to sit. Okay, so I do like this one, but it's so long. This is so long.
No, it's not that long.
All right, I'll read it. Lisa, how are you? I'm good. I'm all set for Monday. Yeah, that should be okay.
Now, is there any music?
No, just this.
Pack it in.
Yeah. But I know Lisa would love it. She just
Well, this is her last one. Betty is. Whether you play music or as people were gathering.
2 minutes. 2 minutes.
2 minutes.
I
think it's 1 to 3.
1 to 3 minutes and water.
Yes. Okay.
Hey, Mo.
Are you going to announce that?
Yes, Sabrina.
Are you going to announce about this week? What?
I don't have.
We didn't have that script.
But I can.
Because somebody just asked me what time it starts.
Tell me what it is.
Soul Collage, every Tuesday, 1 to 3 in Waters Hall. In July.
From now on.
Going forward. Okay, Soul Collage, 1 to Tuesdays in July.
Led by Reverend Karlson.
Led by Reverend Susan Karlson, and starting this week. So they didn't.
morning, everyone. We're going to start with our opening song, number 1053, How Could Anyone? And this is beautiful. I've heard that the congregation maybe doesn't know it, so please rise and body your spirit as you're willing and able.
Good morning. Welcome to our sanctuary this morning. I'm Serena Canarelli, a member of the Board of Trustees at the Unitarian Universalist Congregation of Venice, also known as UCOV. All are welcome here who walk through our doors. Here we celebrate our differences. If your skin color is different, your creed, your abilities, no matter who you love, your gender expression, political affiliation, or religious beliefs, you are free here to find, explore, and walk on your own spiritual path. The only thing that we ask is that you respect the spiritual paths of others that may be different from yours. For those of you who are with us virtually this morning, some of our snowbird friends, good morning, and others who just may be shopping around for a spiritual home, thank you for tuning in. If you would like to know more about this congregation and its many opportunities for learning, growth, and connection, you can peruse our calendar and announcements on our Facebook page or our webpage at ucov.org. Do we have any first-time visitors here that would be, please, will you be willing to stand and say who you are and where you're from? Welcome, Sue and David from Michigan. Thank you. Anyone else who is here just visiting? Bill? No, I know that. We know that.
Just a quiz. I'd like to introduce my daughter Rebecca and my son-in-law Bill. We're visiting with you this week. And we've both been here before, but I want you to introduce them.
Great. Welcome, Rebecca and Bill. Nice to have you. We've heard lots about you. Okay. Is anyone leaving? Any of our members leaving? Richard and I will be leaving in a couple weeks, but we'll be here through the end of July. I would like to give a happy birthday wish to a very special person here. She's been my mother superior for several skits. Fran Vanacek. Happy birthday, Fran. I would like to get old like you, too. We don't really have any other announcements. One quickly that I want to do, and then I'm going to ask Barbara Buring to come up for a minute. On Tuesday in Waters Hall, this coming Tuesday, and it will be the first class, Reverend Susan Karlson will be doing soul collage from 1 to 3. So it sounds exciting. If you have some time, please join her. Barbara, do you want to come up, please?
Good morning. I'm Barbara Buring, Social Justice Team Leader. We have a special offering this month. This month is CHAP's Food and Hygiene Pantry. That stands for Charlotte HIV/AIDS People Support. It's a 501c3 all-volunteer agency that provides supplemental food and hygiene products at no cost to persons in need living with HIV or AIDS and their dependents in Northport, Venice, Englewood, Nokomis, and Laurel. Hygiene products cannot be purchased with food stamps, and they are of vital importance to a person with a compromised immune system. All monetary donations from UCOV are directed to purchases for clients residing in South Sarasota County. During the pandemic of the last 2+ years, CHAPS has seen a large increase in their number of clients. Since they are immunocompromised, they are unable to work and continue to remain at high risk for COVID-19 infection. The need for assistance is great. Please make checks payable to UCOV with CHAPS in the memo line, and thank you for your generosity.
Okay, it is time for the prelude. And it is Columbine Sings by Martineau. Lisa.
This morning, our call to worship is from the Lifting Our Voices, number 180, and it's from the Reverend Leslie Takahashi. We bring into our hearts all those who have gone before us, all those whose living in this world has prepared the soil for our living, all those whose being has enabled our being. Let us also remember those whose existence is seated in our lives today, not only those who are our physical descendants, but also those whose spirits inhabit the love we sow, the hope we reap, the promise we harvest. And may those of us whose religious inheritance is freedom never rest until all who wish to be its children are sheltered.
Lighting the chalice. I'm going to do the reading and hope this works. We Unitarians, Universalists, don't drink from our chalice. Instead, we use it to hold the flame. The circle of the chalice helps keep the fire small. The flame doesn't blind us. It doesn't burn us. It gives us light, so we can see all the different things in the universe, even the invisible ones, because the Unitarian Universalist flame is a light of learning. The flaming chalice is a symbol of learning and love. It's our symbol of Unitarian Universalism. Where is it? Okay. Sorry. What happened to page 3?
Will you rise and body your spirit to sing our next hymn, number 6, just as long as I have breath?
Thank you. I left out a page. Story for All Ages is next. Readers, come forward.
This is a choral reading from Richard Bach called The Reluctant Messiah. The Master said, "Once there lived a village of creatures along the bottom of a great crystal river. The current of the river swept silently over them all.
Young and old,
Rich and poor,
good and evil,
The
the
current
current going its own way, knowing only its own crystal self. Each creature, in its own manner, clung tightly to the twigs and rocks of the river bottom.
for clinging was their way of life.
And resisting the current, what each had learned from birth.
But one creature said at last,
I am tired of clinging. Though I cannot see it with my eyes, I trust that the current knows where it is going. I shall let go and let it take me where it will. Clinging, I shall die of boredom.
the other creatures laughed and said,
Fool! Let go! And
And
that current you worship will throw you tumbled and smashed across the rocks, and you will die quicker than boredom.
But the one heeded them not, and taking a breath, did let go.
And at once was tumbled and smashed by the current across the rocks.
Yet in time, as the creature refused to cling again, the current lifted him free from the bottom, and he was bruised and hurt no more.
and the creatures downstream, to whom he was a stranger, cried,
See, a miracle!
A creature like ourselves, yet he flies.
See, the Messiah come to save us all.
And the one carried in the current said,
I am no more Messiah than you. The river delights to lift us free if only we dare let go. Our true work is this voyage, this adventure.
Thank you all, our choral readers. Well,
What do we have here?
we have the read benediction, but I'm not sure that there are any children. So.
We've got to do celebration. Okay. Celebration and sorrows today. Okay, who has, remember, 3 things. Non-political, personal, and I forgot the 3rd thing. Because,
Remember it anyway.
but we remembered it. Susan is going to, we're doing joys now, celebrations.
Well, actually, this is more an announcement. I want to remind everybody that April 3rd, we're having a meet and greet for our new interim, August. A month, I have problems with months. 4 months, every month. August 3rd, meet and greet at our house for the new interim minister, Amy Shaw. So just give me a call, let me know you're coming.
And if you can let us know your name, I know most of us know.
I'm Pam Palmer.
What time is it, Pam?
It's 4 o'clock. It's in Connections. It'll be in the next Connections. I just wanted to remind everybody.
Joys, any more joys, celebrations?
I love this part.
Just want to say happy birthday to Fran, and tomorrow is my birthday.
Oh,
39 and holding, right? Donna Jewett.
any more joys, celebrations? Concerns, sorrows? No? How about that, I left page 3 behind, that's my sorrow. Okay. Well, an interlude by Lisa. Consolation in D flat by Litz. No, we're having the prayer first, right? Completely screwed up this morning. I am so sorry. This is very unlike me. Okay. Okay, this is a reading about water.
Take a deep breath.
Yeah, I need to take a deep breath. I'm sorry. Our bodies are made entirely of water. Without it, not a creature in this world survives. Water then connects us with the rest of life. It lets us share, experience humanity, tears and laughter interdependently with one another. Water is the foremost yearning of our body. Without it, we perish before we even get the chance to love or hate or hope or challenge fate or ponder God or think the thousand thoughts that make us who and what we are. Water lies before us and within us, as deep as any hope, as sure as any faith, from rising cloud to running stream, from feathered frost down to the farthest reaches of the deep and surging sea. Water calls and answers us. It nourishes, transports, embodies, all of like. We come from far and near. It brings us, we bring it together. And this is from Reverend Dennis McCarty, from his book, Thoughts from a Gentle Atheist. And now, thankfully, Susan is going to be, Reverend Susan is going to be taking over. Right. We're going to do the,
That's after this.
yeah, after the, Lisa, I'm sorry. I had really screwed up this morning. I'm leaving. It's Consolation in D flat by Litz, and then Susan will take over the rest of the sermon. Thank you.
The reading this morning is a poem by Mary Oliver called West Wind Number 2. You are young, so you know everything. You leap into the boat and begin rowing. But listen to me. Without fanfare, without embarrassment, without any doubt, I talk directly to your soul. Listen to me. Lift the oars from the water, let your arms rest, and your heart's little intelligence, and listen to me. There is life without love. It's not worth a bent penny or a scuffed shoe. It's not worth the body of a dead dog, 9 days left unburied. When you hear a mile away and still out of sight the churn of the water as it begins to swirl and roll, fretting around the sharp rocks, when you hear that unmistakable pounding, when you feel the mist on your mouth and sense ahead the embattlement, the long falls plunging and steaming, then row. Row for your life toward it. Our next hymn is number 1008, When Our Heart is in a Holy Place, and this is maybe a little unfamiliar too, but we will get it. It's great to be introduced to new things and not to be worried or anxious when it doesn't go exactly right. Who cares? You know, who cares? So let's go.
Trust the wisdom
So Mary Oliver and Richard Bach bring an intense message to us. Leave the familiar shallows that you've always known to enter deeper, unknown waters. Row for the long falls, plunging and steaming. As this congregation continues on its transitional journey, I sense that we are all called forward towards the urgency of the churn of those waters as it begins to swirl and roil. These readings hold out the promise of full, whole lives in which we reach for truth and meaning as seekers, as people of faith. And the waters that Oliver and Bach describe remind us of the uncertain journey we humans take when we enter this world, when we very first enter into this world. These waters call us forward as religious progressives into the mystery, reaching for truth and meaning as people who know that welcoming the challenging adventures of leading full, whole lives matters so much right now. So much is uncertain about our lives today. Climate change, racial injustice, and evolving pandemic, just to name a few. Some among us deal with ongoing physical illnesses ourselves or in a partner, a family member, a trusted close friend. Often harsh realities create powerful resilience, determination, and passion. And I heard that in my conversations with some of you this week as you introduced yourself to me and as you learned new things about each other, things you never heard before. Now, I've spent most of my life surrounded by water, whether it was the Atlantic Ocean in Norfolk, Virginia, where I grew up, or the blue Pacific of Hawaii and Los Angeles when I was a young adult, Annapolis, Maryland, where I did a year-long internship, Wilmington, North Carolina, Gulfport, Mississippi, New York City, and Savannah, Georgia. Lots of traveling, you might say. Lots of ministry in different places. The currents of the ocean feel like home to me. Venice is no exception, for the peaceful turquoise waters here embody serenity. The story of the reluctant Messiah and the west wind reading are apt for this transition that this spiritual community is encountering. The same metaphors fit with many of our life journeys that you shared with me already, and this is only my first week, so I hope to get to know many more of you in the coming 3 weeks. Yes, I'm counting down because I've already grown attached to you. This is usually true wherever I go, but it seems especially true at this moment as I listen to your collective stories. Because when we encounter turbulence, we find good reason to hold fast to the rocks of the river bottom, as in the reluctant Messiah, just to hunker down and hold on to those rocks. But the reluctant Messiah bids us to let go in order to do our true work, which is this journey, this voyage that is our whole lives, growing, reaching out, stretching ourselves, not knowing where the journey's going to take us, where the river's going to take us. This is the great adventure we are all called to take. Everyone's voyage must originate somewhere, and mine began in the Methodist Church, where Bible stories shaped my early love for storytelling and for metaphor. Decades later, when I entered Wesley Theological Seminary, which is mostly Methodist, but it embraces Unitarian Universalists, lots of Unitarian Universalist seminarians and other denominations, I found a return to a part of my beginnings. My first year helped me value my earliest religious experience, so I didn't have to throw everything out. But by my second year, I realized how far I had moved beyond those doctrines and those beliefs. Those things that held me too tight to the riverbed. I allowed the current to lift me while I still carry part of my childhood roots. That background enriches my life still, and it grounds me as a Unitarian Universalist minister. But then, and this is what people often find confounding, my religious journey took me to a far distant shore from those roots. In Los Angeles, where I became an ordained minister of integral yoga. Integral yoga built a temple called, well, they might have created a tempest as well, but a temple called Lotus, which is the Light of Truth Universal Shrine. And it's in Central Virginia, actually near where I will be moving back to at another part of my journey. The temple is shaped like a giant lotus. You know how the lotuses come out of the muck and the mire, the mud and the debris? And it contains scriptures through these lighted tubes that you can see by my motions that I'm making, that go from many of the world's religions, scripture from many of the world's religions, the greater known and the lesser known religions, that refer to the light of truth inherent in each of them. And I will always, always value my interfaith dialogue and work with other religions because of that experience there. It was at that time that my first marriage ended, around the same time that I left yoga. Well, I didn't leave yoga, I left that place. I felt abandoned by the world that I knew, by the God of my understanding at that time, by my community of faith. Leaving that ministry was, for me, an essential part of the voyage that eventually brought me here today. It made me resilient and compassionate when I see others caught in their own tumultuous waves. And even as the current lifted me free once more, I yearned for a religious home, and I found one in the Unitarian Universalist congregation in Charlottesville, Virginia. I also found a religion, Unitarian Universalism, that let me be truly whole, have all the parts of myself, an inclusive church in the ebb and flows of life. And this Unitarian Universalist heritage, the roots that hold us close, call us to this struggle. We can chart our own course, and yet, at the same time, we can covenant to let the river that delights to lift us free lift us together. Lift us together. I'm going to shift gears a little bit here because I have memories as I'm going over parts of my life that are representational of this sermon this morning. The attacks on September 11th, 2001 occurred in the second week of my internship in Annapolis, Maryland. the very beginning of my ministry. And I remember feeling that life was peaceful on September the 10th. And on September 11th, we all became more conscious of the waterfalls ahead. And we were forced to let go of the rocks that held us securely. And since that time, many things have happened in this country that make us feel like we are all heading for those waterfalls, whether we like it or not. Some things not in our control. And I bring up September 11th because I often hear, for several years now, how different these times are now. But if you think about it, the truth is we've been living in these currents for quite some time, maybe always. Whenever we enter a period of currents, I start to ask more complex questions than where were you? Or what were you doing at that time? Those are the easy ones to answer. They're pretty easy because we remember them because they maybe changed a life or we just remember the tumultuousness of it. The questions I want to ask you go deeper than that. I want to know, where are you emotionally when conditions worsen? When you go through transitions? Are you enraged? Natural emotion. Fearful, sad. Do you want to blame someone or anyone? Are you numb, unable to think or feel much of anything at all? Or are you heartened by the actions of those on the front lines? Those that take great risk for our collective safety? And do your unconscious values and prejudices overtake your commitment to community and universal care for everyone? And going even deeper, where are you spiritually? In a place of despair, feeling cut adrift from many certainties that you felt like you used to have? Are you gathering with other people to seek solace, or are you alone? By choice, or dealing with pain and anguish and all kinds of feelings by yourself? And do you feel that the current is smashing you over the sharp rocks, overrun by fear of loss or anger? And most important, maybe, are there people with whom you can share your true feelings, your true self? Are there places where you can be heard and accepted? I dare say for many of you, this congregation is one of those places. We are all connected in this world now more than ever. Even when pandemics and things keep us apart physically, we are still connected, tied together. John Donne's message from centuries ago echoes in our ears. Do not ask for whom the bell tolls, for it tolls for thee. Much of my ministry has involved dealing with crises. That wasn't of my own making or my own choice, but it seems to follow me sometimes. September 11th, racial divides in every single location, Hurricane Katrina and Superstorm Sandy, truly the embattlement of waters, and congregations in transition, a radical change that can sometimes feel like a crisis. Sometimes. And I'm beginning to see this church in a unique way after only 10 days with you. People echo that they need one another and they need this community. They say, I don't want to be alone. I want to be here. I want to be with others. And I see the meaning of congregational life and the purpose of ministry, shared ministry, my ministry, your ministry, shared together and created anew as you've gone through each of these month-long ministries. And as you prepare to welcome your next interim minister, Reverend Amy Shaw. And I want to say something here about these month-long ministries. They seem very short, don't they? They seem very short. We're only together for a brief month. But I want to lift up something for you. See if this lifts you up. That a lot can happen in a month. A lot can happen, including the movement of the Spirit that refreshes us on this journey. And that's what I see as part of my ministry with you, is to help refresh your spirits, remind you of why you're here, why you're with one another, why you are called to action in the world. I feel the strength of a common purpose as you go over the falls together. Being a community of faith means that we hear one another with respect and try to understand one another even when we don't agree. Many decades ago now, I wrote a paper for Unitarian Universalist history class in seminary. It was on two founders of Unitarianism back in England. Their names were Joseph Priestley, that most people have heard about, and Theophilus Lindsay, that most people haven't heard about. Two very different people. Priestley was a person of science. He also was famous for finding the bubbly Coca-Cola kind of thing. And he was a person of science and reason, and yet religion was central to everything he did. Lindsay was an Anglican minister who saved every penny to help the poor in the community. Two very different people, two very different ones, yet they had a friendship that lasted well over a decade. And Priestley wrote that his friendship with Lindsay was the most significant relationship in his whole life. His whole life. He supported Lindsay when all others abandoned him because of some of his views. And he turned to Lindsay when his wife of over 34 years died. That example shows us something about real connections, our common purpose that does link us together. You come together now as we all go through this time of upheaval on so many fronts. We unite in worship, even when some of us are online and some of us are in the sanctuary. We're united when we listen carefully to one another's words and to the silence when feelings run too deep to be spoken out loud. Momentous times become part of our collective memory. Though we may naturally feel many painful emotions, we have to remember what we sacrifice if we lack compassion for others. If we fail to reach out in love to one another and to the wider communities around our globe, we are not rowing towards those fearsome waters. We are avoiding them. And we may miss the opportunity to find true connectedness and deeper love. Though we may need to drop the oars and rest at times, as Mary Oliver says, we must steady ourselves for the long journey ahead and resume it when we are stronger. And consider how to row for our lives toward it. May it be so. Blessed be and amen. Now, let us rise in singing hymn number 354, We Laugh, We Cry. And it's a long one, so we're just going to sing verses 1 and 4. I close with a poem that I wrote 21 years ago when I first decided to enter the currents and pursue the Unitarian Universalist ministry. And I've adapted it to reflect our present struggles in the currents. And if you saw this, which I can make available, if you saw it, it's in the form of a chalice, the poem is. O Spirit of life, we heard your voice in the uterine waters that were our first home. We remember times of deluge when we watched a storm upon the beach while the rain poured and the winds raged. We can imagine the strength of waters flowing over us like a cascading waterfall. All of these waters brought us to this moment. All of these events flow through us and flow through our veins and are a part of us. The sacred waters teach us to bend and flow, to reach and to stand still, to merge and return to the beginning. We flow down to the low places as we are carried to the heights. The waters call us here. And may the waters lift you, carry you forward together. Amen. And blessed be.